it's open, the spotter's in there, so. Normally the girls are on the top floor, your handlers are on the bottom floor. And they're not gonna like us being here, so you can just get ready for that. You have 1, 2, 3. 3 rooms for sure where you have spotters. And you have 1 parking lot for sure. Oh, yeah, there you go. $120 every 15 minutes. They're making a lot of money.
Hey everyone, welcome back to I Am Silent No More. I'm your host, Linz Piper Loomis. So today I have a guest with me from Shepherds Watch Foundation. Brandi, welcome. Absolutely. I think I've had you before. If I have, it's been a hot minute, but I wanted to have you on today and ask some hard questions, stuff that I may know the answer to, but actually ask from y'all's, perspective. I'm not, just to clarify here, everyone, I am not actually affiliated with Shepherd's Watch Foundation, but I do support the work that they do. They are an incredible organization, and they are boots on the ground and on the front lines. So, one of the first things I wanted to talk about, I know you guys address trafficking. I'm looking at my notes, everyone, so I don't screw this up. But one of the things I wanted to talk about is the online horrors that are facing our children. Now, I've talked about cyber stalking before. I've talked about sexual grooming, but I want to hear from you because y'all are experts in, this other lane. And so I guess let's start there. What are right now in this day and age, what are the horrors that are facing our children online?
Correctly, right? Also in chat rooms where others are, but most specifically, we actually had been talking about this earlier today, where a lot of your online grooming happens when they're right before when they're teenagers, usually right before a couple years before they're 17, 18 years old. And that's some of the things we're seeing that is really running rampant. It's ending in sextortion cases. Unfortunately, some young children and young adults are taking their own lives because of this, and it's something that we have to pay attention to. We actually had BX on X with us recently in our X space, and she was describing the 764 cult and all of the satanic groups, right? Seditionist, accelerationist. Those are big words sometimes to say, but that's something. Those are the horrors that are definitely coming today, and much more. Those are just a few of them.
Yeah, I don't remember the statistics from a mutual contact of ours. I won't quote them, but it was like back some years ago in the 2000 range, but I don't know if it was like 2017, 2020, but it was like, oh, the cases that they were seeing was like over 50% of the rescues were satanic rituals. And now I think, and don't quote me on this, but I think they said it was over 70% now. So, and I think that's happening because one of the exposure, you see all these pastors getting popped, you see teachers, professors, coaches, anywhere kids are, prevalent, obviously, they're getting popped left and right. And a lot of people don't want to face this and have this conversation because they say, this is this is too tough, this is too hard to hear. But what about those of us that actually lived in those situations? What about, you know, how myself and others had to face those horrors because we lived it? It was our reality. So these kids, the church has not done their job to get on, and I can say that personally, and I'm saying the church at large. And so now bringing this to the forefront and talking about it is one thing, but also these parents are responsible for what their kids, or caregivers, guardians are responsible for what their kids consume, what they what they're participating in. And even like, it's like the iPad, the phone, the TV, whatever digital content or digital anything has become the babysitter instead of, the traditional family unit. So that's why I kind of wanted to talk about these horrors. And you bring up a very valid point. I'm looking at my notes with you, but you said seven. I think you said 764. Is that what you said?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
764.
that whole. I mean, they're still doing busts on that.
Absolutely. And well, and
It's.
there's splinter groups, right? So as soon as
Mhm.
it's actually looking at the analogy of just like a sex trafficking network, as soon as you bust that one up, there's splinters that come off of it, right? So
Yeah.
it's a never-ending task to try to keep up, if not possibly get ahead of that problem. Yeah, it is
Hmm.
mind-blowing. It's very scary nowadays for our children. I wanted to go back real quick, Lynn. You mentioned something that's weighing on me really heavy. You
Yeah.
mentioned, the way that kids are able to connect with predators, not just online. You were talking about the way they can meet them up in person. There are a lot of families, and going back years ago, I'm in my 50s now. uh, Too many things have been swept under the rug, lens. For years there were things that would come up
Yeah.
in families, and no one wanted to say anything to quote unquote not tarnish the family name. Well, that's exactly
Hmm.
how that's why we're here today, right? Too many people staying quiet, staying silent, and not saying what we need to say. I'm sorry, but if you're a predator or pedophile, you need to be called out on it. You need to go to jail if you have done something to a child, and you need to face the consequences. We are no longer going to allow people to sweep things under the rug, and that's
That's
just
right.
that's your goal, right? You're silent no more, and that's what we all have to be: silent no more.
Yeah. Gone are the days of any of that. And even protecting people that protect predators and pedophiles and stalkers and harassers. It's like they're God is exposing all of this right now, guys. I hope you know this. God will leave no stone unturned for these things that are happening. It is not going to be able to stay hidden anymore. I mean, there is so much. There's so much. One of the things I wanted to also talk to you about, I'm going to ask you one question first before I get to this next question. So let's go back to the online format. Okay, you were talking about the gaming and all these different things. What are the now? I've asked other people this, but in your line of work, what are some of the signs to look for?
Well, what's hitting me immediately is a couple different things that have happened recently with missing kid cases. One thing is that you may find that your child is spending a lot of time with someone that's new. Definitely get involved
Hmm.
with, right? But eventually, and those connections can start online. Make sure that you're paying attention to all the devices. If you do not know as a parent how to go through and work a program, your child does not need to be on it. If you do not know how to work an app, your child does not to be on the app. Protect your devices, right? But what you need to be looking for is people coming out of nowhere. First of all, if say they're playing a game, say they have chat rooms they're in. If there is a game that they are playing, make sure you know how that works. Make sure you know where the chat part is. Make sure all of those things. Some of the things that we have found recently, um, Roblox, for instance. Okay, you
Hmm.
need to make sure that when your kids are playing anything like that, that you have access to those things as well. make sure that that screen is where parents and everyone else can view it, right? I can tell you this as well. I actually have a child myself who's older now and is an adult, but I learned real quick that with those virtual reality systems, that can actually be put on the screen. So if your child ever tells you, "Hey, that you can't see what I'm playing because it's in the headset," absolutely not. You need to know that it can be viewed on the screen, and that's exactly what you need to do. You need to be paying attention to that. Also, make sure nothing comes through the mail. I can tell you that some of our missing kid cases that started online in the beginning and ended up being that they're gone now, they were sent phones. They were sent phones from someone else that you didn't buy that. If you see that your child ends up with anything that is a device or any type of, let's say, high dollar gift that you didn't buy them, you need to be asking questions. That can
Yeah.
come through that can come through the mail, right? And they could have maybe never met your child yet. They may be talking to someone you have no idea about and they have not met in person yet. But the minute they get a device in their hand that you have no control over, you don't know what is going to happen. Let me see. I'm trying to think of some other things. Also, look for anytime you might find, and this would be, of course, in person, and it might have been sent through the mail. But a lot of our cases that have ended up with missing kid cases that we're consulting on or have consulted on, end up the parents find a list that is coaching the child how and what to do to get out of the home and how to fly under the radar. For instance, it'll tell them what to bring with them when they're planning this escape from their home, right? It'll tell them what to bring, what not to bring, how to wipe their devices, Lynn. So we're finding that kids that were actually on the autistic spectrum never had been with anyone else besides the parents are being taught how to wipe their devices. And you and I both know how very scary that is and how that helps them leave without an easy trace, right? We can still find them, of course, with different means, but that's easiest to get out of the home without a trace. And it's so very scary. Those are the first things that are coming to mind right now because of that being something that we are dealing with right now.
Yeah, you brought up so many valid points. I know that, like, for me personally, getting behind kids ever, like, let's start at the beginning when they're small. A lot of times in schools, kids have Chromebooks, they have, kids have phones and different things. Let's get back to the basics and take that stuff away. There's an organization called Screen Strong that actually has ambassadors. There's someone that I've actually interviewed on this podcast before, Juliet. She goes to my church. She's a Screen Strong ambassador, and there are presentations for parents, churches, schools, young people, the older kids, like getting back to where is the harm in this? How does it affect the development of children? Because their brains are still forming. It talks about the dopamine release. It releases the same level or increased levels of dopamine that um, sexual predators get when they're looking at pornography. Same type of thing. So that's why these children, this grooming and this online stuff is so vital to grab a hold of now. And it's not too late. You can take the
Never.
phones away. You can take these screens away. You can. They have with Screen Strong, and I'm not an ambassador, but I do like to share organizations that are doing awesome things. They have a 7-day detox and they have longer ones as well. But if that is something you're interested in, they do have an X profile, but you can go to Screen Strong and look it up online. Couple of the other things that I wanted to talk about
Hey, Lynn,
and
I'd like to share
yes.
one more. I'd like to share
Yes,
one more that we need to
absolutely.
look into. Okay.
Yeah.
We are not affiliates at this time. We're working on that, but Bark. Bark is a very good protection for devices. The parents can set it up. They can put it on a phone. You can actually have a phone from Bark. They have one set up already, but it is also an app that you can apply to a device you already have. Also, they have routers and they have watches. So it's very important to know that those things are out there and absolutely do not give your child any type of electronic, whether it be a watch or a phone, the iPad, anything without some type of protection on it so that you can see what's coming in and going out. That's very helpful. We can't be with our children 24/7, and no one wants to be, right? We need to give them some independence to be able to have some life, but we need to make sure we know what's going and coming out of that device.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is so good. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we all as parents, like if you're a parent out there and there's shame that comes on some of these parents and they're thinking like, what did I do? I'm such a bad parent. Don't do that to yourself, guys. All parents, like there's no if there was a book showing besides the Bible is great, but if there was actually a handbook that every time a mother gave birth to her child, there was a guidebook on how to raise that specific child. We all make mistakes in that sense, so don't beat yourself up. There's clean slate today, you can start out fresh. That is definitely something you can do. So I wanted to also kind of talk about cyber stalking, which, you know, in this space and stalking, both of us and many of us have experienced that, in this field. We've either experienced or we've seen it. Uh, but as it relates to children in this space, what does stalking look like? What does cyber stalking look like from your experience with kids in with Shepherd's Watch? What does that look like?
Well, I can say that stalking in general, it depends on the situation for sure. But for a child, for anything, as far as what's coming to my mind is if you find that your child has, you know, told a profile or someone online, that maybe they don't want to be friends, or maybe they don't have an interest in playing a game with them, right? And that person continues and persists and continually reaches out. And eventually, 9 times out of 10, a child will, just from a parent's perspective, not even from our work perspective, but just being a parent myself, not all children are very strong to say no, right?
Yeah.
In person, much less to someone that they don't know. And a lot of times, a lot of us, even as adults, are taught not to block, right? Don't block, it might hurt your algorithms. Don't block, that's rude. No, actually, that block button is your best friend. If someone is that, it really is. If someone is
I love
harassed,
that.
well, if someone's harassed, I want kids to know that too, right? If someone is persistently breaking a boundary and you've told them, whether no matter what it is, go away, I'm sorry, I don't want to be your friend, I don't want to play the game, whatever. First of all, they need to come to you. They need to know it's okay to come to you and let you know that someone is continually reaching out to them. And they need to know what that block button looks like, and that can be used very easily. There is no reason for us to allow people to come in, no matter how old we are, and invade our privacy, invade our space, invade our peace, right? I don't know about you, but I definitely, my block list is growing as an adult. I'm sure yours is too. There are more crazies in the world than there are sane people, unfortunately, it feels like nowadays, especially online. So I just want to encourage people to make sure your child knows, report to you if someone is persisting, and definitely use that button. Also, when it comes to that, I'm thinking of maybe post made about a child. I'm thinking about the reason my adult now son never got on social media. He didn't want to. He said, why would I want to do that? There's so many mean people. All of the bullies that are in schools create profiles, and all they do is make fun of other kids. That's not fun, and that's not being social. That's being mean. And so he never did get on social media, and I'm very glad about that. I'm very grateful for that. And that's something that everyone needs to be aware of for their kids. You know, I mean, Linz, I know I'm not the only one. I know you've heard of these. There are actually, what I'm thinking about right now is Instagram for sure. I've seen stories and I've actually seen some of the posts where there will be just, I'm going to say, mean girls and mean boys that will make profiles just to mock other kids, right? That's stalking, that's harassment.
Hmm.
All of that's not okay. And I think it's very important that we teach our kids to put the phone, like, for instance, you see that, go to a parent and have that parent report it immediately. I think it's very important to not only tell them that, but also to know where to report. First of all, as far as Shepherd's Watch goes, especially with trafficking and anything we see online, we always say do not report to the app first. Report it to someone who can do something about it and take that documentation down. That needs to be documented before you report to an app and it goes away. Because when that goes away, then that lead goes away. If no one's documented it, then if it goes away, no one saw that harassment against that child, right? So that they could follow back. A lot of times you can report it to a PI firm and they can actually find the IP address quickly. If I was a parent and I had the ability to do that, that's the first thing I would share to do. I would contact a private investigation firm who has the capabilities of tracking that profile back to an IP address and then proceed from there with authorities first. I would not report it to the profile yet. I would contact law enforcement and have private investigators on that and detectives on that before I ever thought about reporting it to the app itself. We want to take those people down, whether those are people that are stalking, and I say we, as people that do the work of protecting other people. We want to make sure that those predators, whether they're stalkers, whether they're traffickers, whether they're groomers, whether they're pedophiles, they need to be located, ID'd, and then that information needs to be taken down. We need that person out of the loop when it comes to harassment first or stalking, and then proceed with what needs to happen.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I am licensed, obviously, you know this, but as a
Yes,
private
ma'am.
investigator, and there was a situation where we traced down an IP address because there's an IP address attached to everything, and this person had masked their IP address with a VPN, but they didn't use a good VPN. I'm not sure, but we were able to actually locate who it was down to you know their where they were staying, and you know document that for future reference in case anything else came. But people just don't understand, like it's so important for you um to report these things and to document. If I could tell anyone anything and stress what you've said, is documentation is everything. It's tedious, especially if you know your child is on the receiving end of these threats. I've taken training, some anti-trafficking training, and seen some of the vulgarity and threats and different things that are sent to children, and it's abhorrent. It's horrifying. So,
Well, we
and
know
these
what's
kids are
sent to
threatened.
adults. Sorry, Lindsay. We know what's sent to adults, right? So you can only imagine the things that are sent to kids that are never reported.
Yep. Yeah, and so that's why it's so important. I'm just continuing to look at my notes here. So one thing coming back to mannerisms and traits, characteristics, maybe I should say, traits and characteristics of a cyber stalker or a stalker, someone who harasses. One of those traits is someone who is a narcissist, because these people think they are above the law, that they can't get caught, and they think that they are an entitlement. They have entitlement to your child, or to, if it's an adult, to you. They have an entitlement to treat you a certain way and to go after your children. I don't, they think that for whatever reason, I don't understand the way a criminal thinks because I'm not a criminal, but this is a consistent trait. You see it within corruption, in politics, a lot of narcissists. You see it in pretty much every sphere of influence. You see these predators are narcissists, and entitled. They act entitled. They have huge egos, and eventually, sometimes they're smart, but eventually they're stupid and they get caught. And
Absolutely.
that's the thing, is that criminals think they'll never get caught until they get caught. Um, so that's,
Well,
I
and if
wanted
I
to
could
go
touch,
back through those traits. Yeah, go ahead.
okay, and if I could touch real quick, on the VPN thing, it's one thing people need to understand, okay? If you are going to be online, a VPN is only going to do so much, right? Just like you shared. People need to be aware of that. Parents need to be aware of that. A lot of adults think, oh, I'll have a VPN, I'm safe. Absolutely not. Don't ever think twice when it comes to tools that are able to be used for good, right? To track down bad people. People need to
Mm-hmm.
be aware that those same tools, counterintelligence is just as good, and they can find you just as easily as you can find them. So it's
Yep.
very important for people to understand that VPNs can only go so far. They do not 100% protect you if you're going to be online.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any other traits or characteristics that you would say for parents to look at or see, or that you think someone who's cyber stalking, harassing, what else do I have? Sexual groomers. And now that's the next question. I'm not there yet. Is there any other traits or characteristics that parents should look for a girl that might be dating a guy, or guy that's dating a whacked out girl, or another situation, maybe someone that is close to the family. By the way, let me just pin that for a second. A lot of times this is happening within the family unit, like somewhere inside the family there is someone, or it's a close family friend. And again, I don't have the actual data, the definitive percentage on that, but it is high. It's very high. But anyways, let's
There
go back to that.
Yeah, so what's coming up for me on that one too is the fact of, we need to watch how our children are acting. Maybe your child, you know how your children acts. If you're a close parent to your child, you know exactly what their characteristics are and their personalities. What's coming up for me is I can remember, and I've actually seen this a couple times in ads that we've looked at, to where, your child will start calling someone by a nickname or by a pseudonym. I know that I've seen a child calling a boy that wanted to be their boyfriend. The boyfriend told him to call him daddy. Look for characteristics of how they act when that person's around. Do they respond immediately if a text comes in? Do they stop everything they're doing and pay attention to one person with a text coming through, different than they do their other friends, right? How are they responding to that person? You can usually tell really quickly if someone has a hold on your child, if you're paying attention. If they start acting different around a certain person, or if they even get scared or feel fearful, they don't want to respond to that message. A lot of times as well for children, and you know this as well, Lens, the body will start responding. If someone's already been traumatized and they get put in a situation where they get triggered, they may lose bodily function. They may start shaking. They could start quivering in their voice. So there's just so many things to pay attention to, and it's just very important to make sure that we're paying attention to all of those things. Because if we're not involved in our child's lives, there are way too many predators out there that are going to get a hold of them quickly, especially those children that are distanced from their parents or their families.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We're gonna just take a real quick break, y'all, and then we're gonna come back and start diving a little bit more into this. So we'll be right back.
Hey, it's Josh with Val and Vine Jewelry. We're passing the USS Yorktown right here. At Val and Vine Jewelry, we are extremely grateful for the people who have served this nation. To say thank you, at Val and Vine, we gift every active duty military member with the diamond for their engagement ring. So if that's you, all you got to do is pay for this setting, and to say thank you for your service to this nation, we'll gift you with the diamond up to 3.5 carats. Thank you for your service to this great nation, the greatest nation on the planet.
Y'all, this is a legitimate company, Val and Vine Jewelry. My husband actually just did the same thing. He just gifted me this 3 carat. And so, any veterans, any active duty, if you are on the market to upgrade your wife's ring, or you want to get an engagement ring, go to valandvinejewelry.com and let them know, and you can book a consultation. They've also uploaded a couple of other ways that you can start the process. Now, if you're not active duty military, you're not a veteran, that's okay. You can still go there to valandvinejewelry.com, set up a consultation, and when it comes time to purchase your ring, you can type in the code LENS, or you can use the code LENS, and you'll get 10% off, and you'll get a discount on that. They are a Christian based company here in South Carolina, and in America. I meant to say America and in South Carolina, and they love our country. So please go to valenvinejewelry.com and check them out. Now, I want to come back to our discussion here with Shepherd's Watch Foundation with Brandy, and I want to talk about sexual groomers. They are similar traits, you know, entitlement. They also have the whole narcissist trait, usually, maybe not every time. But let's talk about sexual grooming a little bit because, you know, I've seen some cases where the groomers are it's like kids who are single parent homes, or they have some type of trauma. They're a magnet for these sexual groomers, and groomers know what to look for. They have understand the victimology of these kids. They understand psychology. They understand mannerisms. They can observe them and look at them and decide that's someone that we can pull in. That one might be a little bit hard. That one's not going to work. And so they are preying, PREY, on the vulnerabilities of our children. And so many of our kids are vulnerable because they're online. But, kids that have dad issues, that have mom issues, or kids in foster care that come, broken homes, kids that are bullied and targeted a lot. I mean, these are common factors. So you've already kind of talked about some of these traits, what to look for in these kids. But what are some other traits and characteristics of sexual groomers, and where are you guys finding them? I know you've kind of already mentioned some online avenues, but where are you seeing, what kids do you think are targeted the most? If there's an age bracket, a gender, a demographic, or even kids with disabilities, what are you seeing, and what traits do you see in these groomers?
Well, definitely right now, the uptick is in any child who is uh, considered disabled, mentally disabled. This is someone who is neurodivergent, may not see things the same as the average person through their lens. And, a lot of times, most times, more than not, these children see no strangers. Everyone is their friend. And that's scary. We need to make sure that that kids do know, there are strangers, but those are the ones that are being mostly targeted that we're seeing in cases right now, Lens. I can tell you that when it comes to kids being desensitized and sexually groomed, one thing that comes up for me with that is, if you if you find that anyone has sent your child photos or videos, that's the first thing they usually try to do to start desensitizing, right? Don't tell your parents, but I'm going to send you this. And so when they start seeing these videos and sexual videos, sexual images, this starts desensitizing them to the sexual this is sexual grooming. That is grooming. It's desensitizing them to what eventually, unfortunately, a lot of these pedophiles and predators are wanting them to do. And it makes it to where it's harder for them to reach out and seek help for it and say, hey, someone's doing this to me. Because typically they've already been involved in watching some of these videos for a while. And those predators will end up having them feeling very guilty for even viewing those videos. And then before you know it, the child thinks it's their fault and they're embarrassed to reach out, and that's just very scary. But that's definitely one of the groups of kids that are being targeted. I can also say that when it comes to being targeted, we also are seeing in our trafficking cases a few years back, I want to say it was 21 or 22. We don't like statistics, first of all. By the time you see a statistic or hear it, it's old. So that number's already grown typically, especially when it comes to trafficking, not going down. Our numbers are rising. And so when we looked at numbers of cases that involve children, and I'm sorry, you might hear my AC in the background, but it's getting hot, so it's going to come on for a minute. When you're looking at children, a lot of times you will end up finding that these children, number one, some of them are actually maybe already been molested or assaulted within the family or by someone else, so they're already desensitized to it. But once someone reaches out to them, again, like I said, they get embarrassed, right? They're scared to reach out to their parent. one of the things also when it comes to those children, a lot of times nowadays you're finding the transgender movement is touching a lot of kids, right? Even through your public schools, your private schools. And when we looked at cases when it came to children being trafficked a few years back, like I was saying, we saw, and it's so hard to say. For whatever reason, it's hard today to say this. I think maybe I'm live, and I know I'm live, but I'm going to be hitting ears that are not haven't heard this for this, and this is going to be the first time. There are children who are transitioned, and when these children are transitioned, a lot of times they are groomed for sexual favors by adults. And when we looked at numbers during that year, 21 or 22, we found that number one, transgender children are bringing more money to traffickers' lands than a child that is male or female. They brought 3 to 5% more to traffickers when they were being sold for sexual favors and sexual exploitation. Within those children, right? We looked at who was buying them, who are the people that are buying them most, and what is something that people are not going to like hearing me say, but I have to say it, and it needs to speak very loud, that those children were bought mostly by heterosexual couples, heterosexual swinging couples. So don't think for one second that your friend or your neighbor may be okay because they're heterosexual. That's not the case. Those are the more deviant that we're seeing.
You're bringing up a very interesting point. So one thing, a lot of times, the way that and I know I'm going way far off the rabbit trail here, but one of the ways that the Satanists and satanic ritual abuse and trafficking in that arena, they recruit is actually through swinging uh, engagements. And
Yes.
I've received I've had people tell me multiple times the amount of swinging. I'm going to really piss off a lot of people in South Carolina right now, but I've been given judges' names and been given the name of, elected officials that allegedly were participating in swinging. And I've even had some people say that they've seen children there, but I have no evidence of this because it is done in the underground market. And
Absolutely.
I've never written any of those names down. They've just stayed in my head. I've never moved forward with anything because you can't just put those. I mean, we know the swinging parties are happening. We know that there is certain things taking place within, secret societies and these parties. But it's trying to track all that down. I mean, it's sickening. I can tell you, back in it was, I think, December of 2022. Please don't quote me on the year, but there was a drag show that travels around and doing Christmas around the country, and in every single location there was camera footage that was leaked by concerned people of kids that were being solicited to by these dancers, taking tips, men with, whether they were strap on boobs or they'd had surgery, they were taking tips from these kids in their buttholes. And we tried to stop it in South Carolina. The guy that sounded the alarm on this was Corey Allen with the Overton Report. So I showed up to protest the event. I called 911. I saw blonde head, blue eyed children going in through a separate entrance with people. I never saw those kids again. I called 911. No one responded. I spoke to law enforcement there. I tried to stop it. I spoke to Matthew Gates, not the Matt Gates from Florida that was a congressman, the deputy chief. The Deputy Attorney General for South Carolina, Attorney General Alan Wilson, who's running for governor of South Carolina. Spoke to him, and there's actually a recording on my podcast on my website where I confronted this, and he used the word children and consensual in the same sentence of why they weren't going to get involved with this thing. I contacted North Charleston. I contacted the mayor. This was North Charleston jurisdiction. It was at the Coliseum in North Charleston, South Carolina. That drag show still happened. Now, I think it was not this past year, but a year ago, um, they no longer had children. There was one child I saw going in, but then immediately the child was removed. They no longer have children at those shows. But it takes a special type of sexual predator and parents that should lose their children. They should be charged with, um, a portion of exploiting these children, and they should face the death penalty upon conviction. Any place, this is my own, perspective. Anybody that is contributing into this process, whether you're a parent and you allow this, or you sell your children, or exploitation, trafficking, you're a John buying a child in prostitution, you say, oh, they wanted it or they lied about their age, you should still face the death penalty upon conviction. Like, this stuff is serious. So that's just to show you, this is the Attorney General's office of South Carolina, and now he's running for governor. And let me just stay on this rabbit trail for 1 second. The other thing about this is that he has a high plea deal, and I'm going to release the FOIA records that I have here soon. But he has a high plea deal rate. It was like over 70% when I ran it through, the tool that was like, what's the percentage rate on this? An increase of over 400% in human trafficking with his task force. And he said it's a good thing. So this guy's running for governor of South Carolina, Alan Wilson. He is a pedophile protector. These are the types of things that you can look at a local level. Drag shows, are they allowing them to happen? Our governor did nothing to stop it, and the city did nothing to stop it, and the AG's office made excuses for it. So, using the word consensual and children in the same sentence, that guy's an absolute idiot, by the way, and he should not even be there. I think anyway, I'm not even gonna go there. So back to this, swinging parties is definitely a thing where they have these kids. I mean, I've been hearing about this for a few years. Um, so anyway,
Well,
I digress.
and if I can share, you just made something come up that I want your audience to be aware of as well. It doesn't
Yeah,
take a shady place for these things to happen. A lot of
correct.
times you're in nice neighborhoods as well. $1 million homes that are paid for with cash, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're in a what you would think of as a upper scale neighborhood that's a gated community. That no one is immune to this. This is happening all around us. If you are someone that you are at your home, or you're driving through a neighborhood and you see kids going in and out of a home that don't look like they should be there, and they don't even look right. Maybe they're not even the same race, right, as your neighbors. But you see these kids
Yeah,
going in and out of homes, or so forth, or cars coming in and out at night. Like, there's so many different things for them to look for, but absolutely that happens all the time,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Hopefully my dog does not start barking, guys. Anyway, yeah, it absolutely does. And there was actually a guy who was a former Satanist. He got radically saved by Jesus. He actually talked about these swinging parties from like back in the 90s. He was recruited as a 12-year-old. And then it was horrific. His story is but he's out and he's saved and he's making a huge difference. So we've got about 10 minutes left, and I want to be able to give you time sorry guys. I want to be able to give you guys time. I was laughing at my dog. To talk about your website and call to action. But that's actually, let's talk about that. How can you combat this? How can our parents and guardians and local people, how can they combat this? What can they do?
There's a lot of different things they can do. First of all, get involved. Okay, so Shepherd's Watch can do presentations in person or remote, depending on where you are. We do travel around Texas and do Protect the Children town halls. Those are very important to get your communities involved, not just yourself, because Shepherd's Watch cannot be in every city in every state. However, you can, and we can equip you for what you need to know so that you can go out in your community. Oh, look at Liberty, and protect the kids. I love it. You can protect the kids in your community. That's what we need people to do. Shepherd's Watch has a lot coming up. There's things I would love to share, but I can't right now. We're not quite ready to go public with some things, but you can go to our website. You can check out some of the interviews we have on there, just so you're aware of what we do, how we work. We assist all levels of law enforcement with the investigative intelligence in sex trafficking cases across Texas and the United States now. So what we want you to do is either come to one of our Protect the Children town halls, or maybe even join X. So if you're an X user, we actually have 2 X spaces that we host every week. Truth Fighter 33 is my personal profile. We host Protect the Children on that profile Tuesday nights, 7 to 9 Central, 8 to 10 Eastern. And then on Thursday mornings, like we did this morning, go find Shepherd's Watch on X, which all you'd have to do is search for SWF and the profile will pop up. We host the Circle of Protection space with Shepherd's Watch and Guard Against Trafficking on Thursday mornings from 9 to 11 Central. What else can you do? You can go to our website, send a contact form to us if you'd like to maybe get us somewhere to do one of those town halls. Also, you can volunteer. Send us your information on a contact form. Tell us what you'd like to do, what your gifts are maybe. We're looking for volunteers of actually all ages and everywhere. Lens, we need a lot of volunteers, going from anywhere from maybe doing some admin stuff, maybe helping us on the web, to doing presentations in person in your town. But we will have more coming soon that's going to be able to equip the public, no matter where you are, with the tools that you need to get involved in and be proactive in protecting the children. That's what we need right now. Absolutely.
Yes, that is amazing. Valid points and all good stuff. I can tell you that the founder of this organization has actually been in the trenches with private investigations for over 20 years and knows, this individual knows what they're doing. So I want to thank you so much for coming here today. I really appreciate you, Brandi. And for anyone, that is, asking, for more information, I've had a lot of people ask me also, do you come and speak? Do you come and do these things? Yes. Just go to my website, lynz.ai or lynzpiperloomis.com without the hyphen. Lynz.ai is an easy, just plug it in and go. Fill out the contact form. My book is available for purchase there. And then if you are interested in, background checks, social media intel, open source intel, fraudulent, fraudulent investigative stuff, any of that, I actually just opened up a private investigation firm with a friend of mine who's been in the trenches for over 20 years in private investigation work. And so we are there. So that's Luke172.com. And that is a scripture that talks about the millstone. Better that a millstone be hung around your neck and cast into the sea than to hurt one of my little ones. And of course, that is paraphrased. So please be sure to go and check out Shepherd's Watch Foundation. You can go to lynzpiperloomis.com or lynz.ai. And then also, if you need help with investigative services, surveillance is only done boots on the ground in South Carolina, but online things, we can, if we can't help you, we can refer you to someone that is available in your state. All right. Thank you guys so much. And also real quick, thank you to my producer, Michael, and to Ex American News for all that you're doing and hosting this show and putting all the work into this. I really appreciate it. This podcast is available on any of your audio, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and many others. So that will be pushed out later this week. Thank you again so much. God bless you and God bless